Hey guys, this is Faster U4 brought to you by FitLab, Tailwind Nutrition, Biomaxa and Capital Cycles. If you're a cyclist and you want to go faster, then let's giddy up. Go. Hey guys, welcome to Fast U4 brought to you by FitLab, Tailwind Nutrition, Biomaxa and Capital Cycles. Hey, bike racing on the weekend. I won, so I'll tell you what, if anything I learnt, a little philosophical rant in there, I will tell you about what's coming up this weekend, which is a little bit of a bigger event, which I'm going down to Dunedin for tomorrow. I'll tell you about Bike Rider of the Week, about some motivation, I'll tell you about a new aerodynamic product that I read a review of today. And tell you what I think. So, first things first, I'll just apologise for that noise because I'm doing my little 30 minutes active recovery today on the turbo trainer as usual, but I'm on the TT bike. It has a disc wheel and it kind of amplifies the noise, so I'm real sorry about that. Not a hell of a lot I can do about that right now. I kind of need to get into this position and use this position for a while because it's a little bit new. I made some changes to the bars and the hand position. Improves the aerodynamics, but I just need to get used to it. I brought my pads in a little bit to decrease my drag coefficient by a little bit for the event this weekend. But yeah, sorry about that. I know it's not great. So there's a picture on the screen if you're looking, which is taken by Tony Gestro, I think, thanks for that, of the Finnish Wellington Masters Cycling Club handicap road race over in on a beautiful, sunny, warm day around from Gladstone through Martinborough, finishing up the steep side of Admiral's Hill. The other one, Miller's Hill, and just south of Gladstone there. So I won this race outright, which was great. Not a huge event, but it was originally, just let me put this out of the way, originally the first of the series of interclub races here in Wellington. That is not happening this year. Instead, PMP Club are putting on a series of 5 really good looking road races. Go to pmp.org, have a look at those. The Interclub series has been canned. So this race on the weekend was like they just ran it as an open handicap event, so that they would have something on. So maybe I'll talk a bit more of that as PMP events later, but do go and have a look. They look really good. A little bit longer. Let's start road races. Nice. It looks like some quite challenging distances. 60 or 80 kilometres for the shorter courses and 80 to 120, something like that for the longer courses. Nice mixed courses with some hill climbs. It's probably suit, a bit of everything for a bit of all kinds of riders. Okay, so let's tell you about this race on the weekend, how I won it. We got an hour and 25 minutes moving time there. Distance of 56.8 kilometres, climbing of 469. Some little small climbs halfway through that did put some of the field into trouble and meant that the scratch could catch. And that was quite important, as was the final climb. The final climb wasn't so important because most of the groups had come together by then. Average of 40 kilometres an hour. So the interesting thing about this is the power. So 290 average, 330 was the effective power. It's quite a big difference there, and that's because the first half was very easy, the second half was very hard for me. Heart rate 147, power balance 48.52. That's my right leg putting out 2% more power than my left. within a pretty normal range. And it explains why I got some power variance yesterday. If you look at my Strava, I did a workout, an HIIT workout, where I had data streams coming in from my stages, a left-legged only power device, and a power tap hub, which of course measures power at the hub, so it's the total of the power. And I did notice that there was a differential in there of about 2%, and that's probably explained by my little leg imbalance there. I think my left leg, I don't know if it's any less muscle mass in it. There's no indication of that, but it's just that it's pedaling style. So, cutting to the chase, you can see, if you're looking at the screen, at about the 3/4 of the way through this event on Sunday, my heart rate goes up quite a lot, and my power delivery becomes less stochastic. That's because we caught most of the other riders. So, handicap road race, as you'll know, as the name implies, handicapped. A limit group starts approximately half an hour before we do. There's a limit group, there's a couple of break groups, and there is a scratch group. Scratch group is the fastest riders, and the idea is that the handicapping should be such that the scratch riders, all the riders come together more or less in the last couple of kilometres of the race. That's pretty much happened. The handicapping was great, was really well done, so I worked really well with the it's only 3 or 4 other guys in scratch. Chris Sutherland, Ben Knight, Urian Gertz, and me, just when you've only got a small number, you want to do the single paceline 10 time trial style of riding rather than the revolving paceline style that you might do with a larger group. That will get you down the road faster. So on some of the rollers in this last quarter of the race, we caught the majority of the riders from the break groups. I put on a bit of pressure on the climb. This is my semi-attack here, not really an attack. Just a minute power at about 473 watts. I looked around, I did want some other riders to come with me. No one could. And I decided at that point to go by myself. I didn't actually know if there was going to be any other riders up the road. I suspected there probably was. But my little plan, as always, for a period in a race like this is to know your threshold power on the flat and pretty much stick to it. If there's some small rollers, maybe going up to or even a little over VO2 power. It's usually say 10% higher than your lactate threshold, give or take. But apart from that, on the flat, just sit on your threshold power. So for about 20 minutes there, I sat on just under 40 kilometers an hour, 363 watts average, 96 RPM, just tapping out a nice rhythm. Just before the bottom of the climb, I caught a group of 15 or 20 riders or something like that, who were the final riders on the road to catch, and put the hammer down in this final part. You can see a big surge of acceleration there for the final 2.5 minutes of the ride, averaging 457 watts. No one was going to hold me on the final climb and taking it out. So that was good. A total of 1,485 kilojoules burnt. It's about 4 to 6 hamburgers worth of energy. So a good day out. Thank you to the club. Here is the results. First place, Steve Bale. It says 150, so 125. Okay, yeah, 125. Second place, Paul Wallace. Third place, look at this, Joe Giggles Neeson. Joe is my rider of the week, ex-mountain biker. Well, no, actually current mountain biker, but I've been working on bringing her over to the dark side for quite some time. She started road riding, and she probably displays better than anyone else the massive benefit on a hill of having good power to weight. You know, it's the same thing when you see these smaller stature riders who don't necessarily have a lot of flat power that can go uphill like crazy because they don't have a lot of mass. Similar sort of rider to Joe. Joe had a benefit of being super strong mentally, and so she can hold on the flat as well. Dangerous rider, and I'm impressed with her ride, so congratulations. Congratulations and thank you to race manager John Goodman, as always. And the marshals, Chris Best, Michael Burrows, Mandy Hancock, Chris Muir, Bruce Richards, Mark Van Elson, and Mark Neeson. And thank you to Tony Gestro for getting those good photos. All right. What, some thoughts. There we go. Some proclamations. I would just say, okay, two things. If you're going to have a breakaway, just like I said before, know your threshold power, know your VO2 max power. If you don't know what it is, I can test you, and that will stop it from burning out. Same thing applies to taking turns in the bunch. So something I noticed is that even quite experienced riders have sometimes this thing where they'll come onto the front on the flat, it's their turn, and they probably are just going too hard. Some of these guys I've tested, so I actually know their threshold power. I can guess from my power at the time what sort of power they're holding on the front. I know they're probably over VO2 power, and those, you know, constant surges are going to build up fatigue very quickly, and you're going to find halfway through, 45 minutes in, an hour in, you're starting to really feel a bit drained. If you can just bring that down a little bit, assuming that there's no big attacks going on, if this is some scenario where you are in a group and you're all making the pace, know your flat threshold power and your VO2 and maybe creep up to that, creep up to your VO2 power a little under. So say your threshold power on the flat is 370 watts. So your VO2 power is 410 watts. If you're taking a turn on the front, you want to nicely bring it up to 370, 380, 390 watts. Do your 30 seconds, your 50 pedal strokes, whatever it's going to be. Gently come back onto the back of the group, and so on. If you do that, you'll last a lot longer than bringing it up 410, 420, 430 watts, burning a little match every time. Speed on the road will be very, not very different at all, but your endurance will last a lot longer. That'd be my little tip about that. The other thing is about motivation. You know, like, I have coached, the thing I love, most of my riders that I coach, more than 50% are in their middle age, and the great thing about people like that is they've kind of been through a bit of life and have some staying power. I'm sorry about that noise, guy. You know, I explained it before. I know it's a pain in the ass. I'm really sorry. It's just got to be done. That applies a little bit to what I'm talking about now. So, is a vast generalization for you, but people who've seen a bit of life tend to have better staying power. Okay, and as a generalization, sometimes younger people don't. Something that I do see is, here's just an example. This isn't everything, of course. The stupid caveat, of course it's not everything, but you know what I mean. This is just an example of something I see. I think this can apply to a lot of people, which is having this notion that you want the, how do I put this? I'll put it like this. If you're a smaller rider, here's the problem I see. You're a smaller rider, you can often have very good power to weight, which means you're a good hill climber. The downside is your gross power on the flat probably isn't that great, and you might find you suffer there. Now, a lot of racing, amateur racing that we do, has a lot of periods where you will need to respond to surges on the flat. And that's a big part of the race. It's not, everything isn't always like it is in pro races, decided often on, you know, the spectacular cols of the southeast France. It's decided in the gutter on a rainy day, you know, on a rainy Sunday in the back arse of, you know, Martinborough. So you kind of, while this matters, by the way, is that if you don't think this through, it can be demotivating knowing that you have a very good ability in some areas, but you never get a chance to use it for a good result because you're off the wheel before you get to the decisive climb. Well, what are you going to do about that? Well, there's two things I would say about that, which is one, there is the training aspect. Aerobic efficiency isn't necessarily going to help you that much. Probably a lot of guys need to focus on muscle mass. Let's get in the gym. You're going to do some simple workouts. I can give you 30 minutes or less immediately after a ride, 3 times a week. One of my riders has increased her flat FTP power by 20 watts in 8 weeks. And the biggest factor was muscle mass from these workouts. So that's one thing. The other thing is kind of mindset. There's training and there's mindset. And the mindset, you might say, well, what change in mindset is going to stop me getting dropped in the gutter at 500 watts in a crosswind, Steve? Well, actually, you can just think about things like your placement in the bunch. Think about things like what I talked about before, how much effort you have made on the front, and making sure that you're efficient with that. You can think about your aerodynamics on the bike. It's quite a biggie. You can reduce that. So there are a few things you can do, and maybe part of this is learning to not be demotivated by things that don't go your way. I'm telling you, since I became, adapted to become more of a time trial focused rider than some sort of hill climber, because I was a mountain biker, I dread steep hills much more than I used to. It used to be the other way around. It was any course, steep hills, great. Now it's flat, crosswinds in the gutter is my big thing. It's changed 100%. And that's just because of a mixture of the things I mentioned, the training changes and the mindset changes. So that's what I'd say about that. Find a way. If you want to be a bike racer, find a way. Otherwise, you'll do what I see a lot of guys do. They will get demotivated because they do genuinely have very good talent or very good ability in some areas, but they haven't refined those two things as much as they can to become a better all-round rider. They don't really get a chance to unleash the really good skills they do have. There's something that this sort of stuff is equally a part of bike racing. For a long term, if you want to build up and get good over build cycle after build cycle, it has as much to do with it as your ability to train hard. It's all important. Okay, and maybe on that topic, I'll quickly just mention something interesting I saw this morning. One of my favourite blogs and sort of cycle commentators is, a lot of you guys will know, is DC Rainmaker. It's a weird name. I know. I don't quite understand why it's called that. His name's Raymaker. I don't know. Maybe it's like some joke referring to how it rains when he rides. I don't know. But he does. You can go to dcrainmaker.com. Check out his latest on Aero Labtech's aerodynamic sensors. And what this looks like, if you can't see the screen, is like a pitot tube. You know what that is? When you look at an aeroplane, it has a tube sticking out the front. A pitot tube is used to collect data about air density, flow, aerodynamics for aeroplane flight management. Well, a similar looking device is probably going to come on the market soon. It's not now, or some form of this to determine on the fly aerodynamic coefficient. So your coefficient of drag, or CDA, on the flat combined with your power is 99% determinant of your speed. And up until now, well, including now, there are very few ways to accurately gauge that. The best one is one I have. It's not what I have, but it's on the free software Golden Cheetah. The gold standard for determining drag at the moment is the Chung, devised by Robert Chung, I think it is, the virtual analysis tool. And in short, you can use your power data and the data from surprisingly wide range of types of rides. So you can do a TT, you can upload the data to Golden Cheetah, you can figure out, if you know what you're doing, your drag coefficient very accurately. There's some caveats around that, but I have used it for a number of years and I've got it very accurate now. So the problem with that is you have to go and you can't make changes on the fly. The idea with a device like this is that you could potentially do that, maybe even to the point where, you know, you can imagine in the future if you had a mobile device like this which was accurate, you could potentially be on, say, a solo breakaway, figure out how to position your body for the best mixture of power and drag on the fly, travel down the road 2 or 3 kilometers an hour faster. Could easily be the difference between winning and losing a TT or a solo breakaway or something like that. This device does none of that. What am I talking about? Well, look, I've read the review, so you don't have to. And even though this probably is technology that's going to get bigger over the next few years, it's not ready yet. There are lots of things that determining airflow data with a pitot tube on a bicycle can't do. You can't, for instance, really accurately measure road gradient. You can't really accurately measure wind speeds in terms of from wind, not from your forward travel. There are lots of problems, and in a nutshell, that's what the review says. So I mean, I don't think it warrants too much more discussion than that. Go to dcradiomaker.com if you want to read the full review. I think this will have devices on the market over time. In fact, FitLab has just purchased one, which is a different device, and to do exactly the same thing that I'll be testing and reporting on over the next few weeks. I don't hold out great hopes for it, but I'm willing to try it. Anything that might potentially be beneficial, I'm willing to spend some time and money looking at for you guys. So I'll report on that. That's if you Google it, you'll find it. It's like a box that goes on the front, has an inlet aperture for air. It has some built-in sensors for vibration and things. The idea is that it's supposed to determine power using opposing forces. So it should give you power, but also drag. As I say, I don't hold out great hope, but I'm willing to be open-minded about it. All right, so the next event I'm going to Dunners for tomorrow is the Masters Games time trial and road race on Saturday and Sunday. The road race, the time trial is a 25 kilometre, 12.5k flat out and back course by the looks of it. I'm looking forward to that. Not much to say about that. Starts at 11. First rider's 11 by the looks. Looks like a fast course. Road race for most riders, 3 laps of a 25 kilometre circuit. So I should be looking at whatever that is, 75 k's or something. The only feature really, the biggie that I could find in my analysis if you're doing this race is this little climb about 3/4 of the way into the lap. Around only I don't know, 3 or 4 kilometers before the finish, which is a gradient of about somewhere around 7%. It's only, you know, a 1 to 2 minute power climb, maybe, I don't know, 70 meters in elevation. So it's not nothing, and could be decisive after a couple of laps, but I don't know. So I will be riding that course on Friday. If you want to come along, have a pet around, if you see me, stop and have a chat. We'll be nerds together. I do think that could potentially be really decisive because of the flat or downhill run into the final after that climb. I'd like to do well at this. I won both events last year outright. I want to do it again. I really enjoy it. It's kind of a slightly lower key curtain raiser for something like the age group nationals, and I enjoy the vibe. I'll be looking to take out the men's outright, and Helen Monster Beatty, my one of my top time trialists, will be looking to take out the women's time trial outright. She's strong. Look out. Alright guys, I'll leave it there. As always, this is brought to you by FitLab. Tailwind Nutrition, who just dropped off another bag of green apple buzz. No, green tea buzz. If you haven't tried it, try green tea buzz. Caffeine, 30 mils of caffeine per milligrams of caffeine per 100 grams, 100 mils. I love it. Thanks Tailwind Nutrition, Biomaxa, and Capital Cycles. If you would like the coaching plan from me, you can go to fitlab.co.nz, email me at steve@fitlab.co.nz, and we'll see you on the weekend. Thanks for watching / listening to Fast You Fall, brought to you by FitLab, Capital Cycles, Tailwind Nutrition, and Biomaxa. If you'd like to get in touch for a coaching program or testing, you can get hold of me, steve@fitlab.co.nz. Go to fitlab.co.nz. Talk soon, guys.